Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Well, yeah, I was just saying to PJ, I loved the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I watched it last night, and it was just
Oh,
top quality.
cool.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I guess because you guys sort of didn't show it for so long. It must. I guess you're probably still getting reactions in for the first time, which must be quite nice to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We'll introduce the film and say, "Hey guys, thank you so much for working on this for a while. It's a comedy. Enjoy the film." And then the first Swedish murder happens, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" It's like it really shocks them. They're not
watching the wrong movie, or what's going on?
Yeah, it's been neat to screen it where like you actually get real gasps because nobody knows what they're getting. It's like they know it's like kind of like this weird, sexy thriller, but then it's so wild and like fast paced. It's a fun thing to watch with a crowd.
Yeah, when I first saw that first scene, I had to just quickly double check I had the right link.
Yeah.
But I'm going to begin by asking a bit of a generic question to begin with. But I'm just interested in your guys' history and how you guys kind of first met and came to create this team, I suppose, between you.
Yeah, so PJ and I met in college. He was an acting major at Emerson, and I was a film major. And so I was always making stuff, and then he was always acting and stuff. And there were like different pools of people that were creators and then actors. And we all kind of like recycled everybody and made a bit of a studio at Emerson, which was nice. And then we graduated and PJ and I worked on a 3D movie that we shot called The Flamingo that I'm still very proud of. But it was the first time that we actually like co-wrote, but it was a bit more like a David Gordon Green film in 3D. But it was like, PJ acting and us kind of like co-writing. And then we spent basically the next 11 years, writing together, doing different screenwriting things that we were hired to do. And it got to a point where after I was doing, these two other feature films, Thunder Road and The Wolf of Snow Hollow, that PJ and I had this idea for this letter service movie. And then we just ran at it and started writing it full time. And so kind of accidentally, we became writing partners and co-directors.
Yeah, it was very fluid. It was never like sit down and say, "Hey, me and you are a team now. Like, let's go." We've just been really close friends for over a decade now. And the writing just kind of happened by accident because we both love movies and love the process and both have very similar comedic instincts and things that we like to write about. And it just kind of evolved into this thing where now we're writing 100 different projects together, and it's very fun. Very happy about it.
What's that working relationship like in a sense? I'm always interested in the kind of writing, directing duos and the dynamic. I mean, do you guys literally write together, or is it kind of separate, sending drafts and email ideas by email? Because I always have this idea that you're both sat in this smoky room, cigars burning, vests unshaved, discarded ideas just thrown into like overfilled paper bins, but it's not really like that in the real world, is it?
Man, I wish it was more like that.
That sounds
my romantic
great
idea.
There are times like we'll go away to Big Bear and rent a cabin and do that sometimes. If we're making something that's more spooky, we'll do that. And we did that for The Wolf of Snow Hollow. We went out and I had finished the final draft of the script 3 months before we shot. So I was like freaking out and gonna make it good. And so much of that film was in this snowy cabin. I was like, all right, well, cool. We'll go out and we did that. So only part of it is the cigar smoking, unshaven stuff. But for the most part, the way that PJ and I write is all out loud. So like we'll have two laptops that we'll be working on a table, usually a long table. He'll be at one end and I'll be at the other. And then we have this like outline that's based on 1,000 different phone calls that we've had, where PJ will like basically build out from all of our ideas and conversations of what the movie's going to be. And we'll do this kind of like breakdown of moving scenes around inside of the Google Doc. And then when it comes to writing it, we do it out loud. So like we'll act out basically every scene while we're writing it in screenplay format, and sometimes stand up, most of the time stand up and act the scenes out and then come back and write down the good stuff. So like it's never one of us listening to music in a Starbucks, hearing the voices in our heads and writing it down. That never worked for us. And neither did like an obeyance of structure. It was more like, and in talking to Steve Coogan and Armando Iannucci, that's how they did all of their writing in their formative years of like, they would film themselves on a VHS camera, I guess a Betamax camera, and then they would rewind it for whenever they broke up laughing. And then that became, it was like, oh, well, that's clearly very funny. We got to put that into the show. And it's funny, but like, it was very confusing when we first started out. We had no role models to say that this was an okay way to do screenwriting until we started succeeding at it. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, we all been doing this since the 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're going to take pointers from any kind of dynamic, the Coogan Iannucci one is not the
Those
worst.
two. Yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And Jim, I was going to ask, I mean, like in kind of in Thunder Road, you play characters kind of just slowly losing their kind of mind, patience, and dignity in such a brilliant way. How hard, I mean, the nuances that come to the kind of internalized decline that your characters go on are so much part of a kind of chronological order. How is it shooting out of sync? How do you get into those kind of headspaces and find the character in the right moments?
Yeah. So thank you for saying that. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I mean, it's a really goofy set. So for like the beta test, we shot it in 17 days, 18 days, something like that. It was like not very much time. So it's really a sprint. There are times where like I'll have to go from this like nice romantic scene into some like graphic violent thing. And that's how any film is when you have to shoot it out of order. But no, I don't know. Like we do the film as a podcast before we film it. So like the whole movie is in audio format, and PJ and I are able to act out all the scenes and kind of get it to be where it needs to be performance-wise. So it's kind of muscle memory by the time we show up on set. We've never had a real budget, so we need that. It has to be a bit forensic before we show up, and the film kind of has to be done before we show up on set. And the film is so like very edited in our minds before we show up because we've never had the budget or the time to be able to wing it. And so really it's us kind of enacting the podcast in video form and making sure I don't forget my lines.
Yeah. I mean, every scene and every moment we've acted out a million times, Jim especially, but yeah, it's all just so thought out beforehand with us on long walk talking through each moment that when you get to set, it's pretty much gonna go. Yeah.
So in terms of uncovering the kind of the culture of some of these agencies, I was reading you guys had undercover sources. Do you think this makes this film part journalism, part cinema in some ways?
Well, I mean, like anything that's important has to be well researched, and it was about this kind of like we wanted to give unprecedented access to this world, and it's such a cloistered culture of silence that is the industry. That, I mean, seriously, like it wasn't difficult to get people to talk, but it's really interesting to see like the response from people who have seen it in the film industry, and it's just silence. Nobody wants to say anything about it. Like we have their clients reaching out and being like, "Oh my God, I love it. It's amazing." But nobody in the film industry, there is this kind of bizarre vow of silence if anything is negative, because the entire cult is based on positivity and excitement. And yeah, we're excited. Let's keep talking, all that bullshit. But no, we had 11 or 12 different people from the film industry world, from the agency world particularly, break NDAs and talk to us. And then, but it was very calm. Like most of the time you can talk to these people, they're used to it, where it's like, oh yeah, there was a fist fight in the office today, and it was crazy. And so when we were like talking to different people, we would bring the information that the last source gave us, being like, oh yeah, well, this person said this. And they would go, oh, you have no idea. It's even worse than that. And so we would get this kind of like, by the end of our conversations with people, they were so much more open because they wanted to talk about, if we had known about the cocaine being a rampant problem at one of these giant agencies, they wanted to talk about sex in the office as well and how big of a problem that was. It was very interesting. It was kind of the snowball effect that we had with different sources because we had gotten a few other people to snitch.
It's like once they realize, oh, it's okay to talk about this. Oh, I have so much that we can talk about then. Like if you guys are cool with it, I'll go all night talking about it.
It's so much worse than that person said. You have no idea.
And it's insane that no more people don't talk about these things because
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled you guys did talk about it and brought this sort of story to screen, but were there any hesitations about depicting this world? Just
all the time. Yeah. The whole fucking time. Man. and it really became something where I was like very nervous about it. Like there's the moment when Raymond is basically destroying the world of agencies when he says like you're a dying social network and everybody can't wait to watch you fall apart. And it's so brutal. We were watching at Fantastic Fest and you can hear people in the audience. It's a quiet moment. People in the audience goes, oh my God. I was like, there were so many people where they were guffawing at how ballsy the writing was, or like, oh fuck, they're gonna get in trouble for this. It felt like watching South Park in a group or something. It was really funny. But in the writing process, I was really nervous about that. And then PJ was always the one to be like, no, fuck it, burn it down. It's a joke. It's a comedy.
Okay, yeah.
Nobody
get me. It's all my fault.
Yeah, no, but I needed that. I needed that.
No, it's true. We needed each other to push each other because like if you're gonna do it, you got to do it. I mean, if you half-ass the world and going after them, then it's not as good for the story. It's not as good for Jordan's character arc, and it's just going to be flat, and it's not going to be as impactful, and it's not as good of a movie. You have to do it. If you're going to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah, PJ, I was going to ask, I mean, obviously Jim did say that he's sort of about the kind of hushed, kind of silent reaction from within the industry. Have you had any reaction from agencies yet?
None whatsoever. Yeah. I don't know. I honestly have no idea what we're going to get. If anything, I don't know. We talk about that a lot.
What are they going to say? We have their email.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. I don't know. It's fine. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking joke. And then also, I think there is that kind of thing of like, the other thing is like, nobody's seen it. Like really, it's just been press and film festivals, and that's it. So like the movie comes out in America on November 5th and obviously comes out in London. But I mean, the people who are going to be the most pissed or the most, I guess, offended or confused will be Hollywood. And so I'm excited for them to see it, but I mean, what are they going to say? Like the movie's done and it's out there. Like, so what? You got made fun of on the internet. Get used to it.
Do you think that Hollywood?
At least it's in a fun, weird narrative. Like at least it's like a fun movie. It's not just us beating on agents for an hour and a half. I mean, there's other stuff.
It's an erotic comedy.
I mean, at least it's done in an interesting way.
Yeah, there is a story. That always helps, I find.
Yeah, that helps.
But I mean, do you think Hollywood is changing? Because I mean, it almost feels like the Hollywood that you're depicting it almost feels like a product of a bygone era, but obviously it's not. But this very much lives in the post-Weinstein world. And from the outside, it seems like the ripple effect is quite a profound one. And it has led to, the Me Too and the Time's Up movements. But as two people that work within the industry, does it actually feel different? Do you think things actually are getting better, albeit slowly?
I think so. I think it's a complicated time. There's a good quote from our producer Ben who says that anything that needs correcting, you can expect an overcorrection. And I think Hollywood is going through a very complicated time because any giant industry that experiences shifts in power dynamics can be very strange for the next decade. And nobody knows what's going on, and everybody still wants to be Harvey, which is a quote from the fucking movie. But it feels like that. Like the power dynamics are shifted towards different aspirations for what makes a great film. I think that like Hollywood is doing all of these really cringy content things as a way to overcorrect, like the new Cinderella movie. And it's just like, what are we doing? This movie's terrible. Like, what are we doing here? And I feel like for the most part, that's really fantastic for independent filmmakers, where they can show cursing, they can show sex, they can show realistic violence and connect with audiences in a way that this like new sanitized culture of making movies will fail, I believe. So I don't know. I think it's a vibrant time for independent filmmakers. Most of the people that I hang out with are independent. Nobody that I know is making bigger movies. And so it's a really good time for rock and roll. But the industry has changed, and it is making it seem like they're different, but really it's just that same facade of, oh, I don't want to come across as this. I don't want to seem like I'm a monster, or like let everybody know that I'm a monster. And they're still criminals. I mean, they're still fucking awful people. The entire infrastructure that supported Harvey, all the people that like made sure he made his meetings and stuff, none of them are in prison. They're still working in the film industry, which is insane. I met a couple of them. They're fucking awful. But no, I don't think that much has changed. It's just we've changed the kind of tripwires of what these people have to step around now, and they're just as bad. Yeah, because I was going to ask you guys, because I mean, with sort of low budget sort of independent filmmakers, it used to feel a bit like low budget independent filmmakers would make low budget independent films for their kind of career. But recently, over the past few years, Hollywood has been dipping in, like taking out sort of filmmakers and giving them the tools to make these huge kind of blockbuster movies. I was going to ask if that's something that you guys would ever kind of like, the idea of just bringing your unique, wacky style to a kind of big studio movie. But do you think this culture that exists within the industry is actually off-putting enough to prevent you guys from ever even wanting to get into that kind of arena? My first instinct is obviously, first off, like that nobody's asking us. Like we're still just making small stuff. Same thing with acting with us, of like, people are like, why don't you act more? Y'all are great. And it's like, well, because nobody's knocking.
Nobody's offering us anything.
Yeah, it's funny. Like
Love to.
But really, like we were able to completely self-finance this movie through the internet, and then like we self-distributed the Thunder Road feature. Like I'm having a lot of fun and skating along financially, being able to make these smaller budget movies with my friends where I'm not censored. I can have Final Cut. It's a great space. And like looking at the history of film, that was very rare for that to be the case in the 1970s. And now you can do it from a fucking garage. You can make a studio from home and have it be the same thing, a 90-minute movie that you're putting out on the world stage. It's insane that this is possible now with the technology that we have. So seeing Destin Cretton do the new Marvel movie is fucking awesome. I thought Short Term 12 is one of my favorite movies. It's so beautiful. And I'm not surprised that, Hollywood is dipping their toes into more independent filmmakers. I mean, even the Russo brothers they made 2 independent films before making this. They made Welcome to Collinville, and then they made, the Avengers movies. Obviously, they did Community and 1,000 other things. But no, I think like Hollywood needs independent sensibilities because that's what makes the movies cool. People want to see a cool movie. They don't want to see something corporate. So, I mean, I'll read a script if Hollywood sends it to me, but if it's not going to be dope and hard R, I don't know if I'm going to do it.
I mean, if they want to give us a bunch of money to make some of our bigger, ridiculous projects, that's great.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, there's such a
weird story. Yeah.
There's such a drought for great content that it's not difficult to knock on somebody's door at a streaming platform that has a quota that they have to meet and say, hey, I'm one of these. I made these 3 other films. Just give us a little bit more money than the last time, and we'll deliver something great.
I mean, obviously, it's not just this film, The Beta Test. It's not just the kind of study of kind of agencies and the kind of murky sides of Hollywood. It looks into kind of in the internet and technology and how actually that can be used as a kind of weapon against people too. I mean, as people in the public eye, people that are making movies, does the internet scare you at all? I mean, I was even speaking to actors sort of recently, even just about sort of deep fake technology and what that can, and how people can just be replicated. I'm not saying it's necessarily saying, everyone's going to be sort of have a deep fake version of themselves, but it does show the kind of the unlimited possibilities of where the internet can go.
I think it's fucking great. I fucking love the internet. I mean, that's the foundation of my career, basically. Like the internet, PJ and I are both Redditors, and we've been Redditors for 13 years now or whatever. Like that has reset our metronome of what audiences find interesting or actually heartbreaking or actually funny. It's not like, oh, trying to be funny. It's like, no, this is democratically upvoted and downvoted, and this is what the public find funny. I cite that as like one of the reasons why we get a rise out of audiences, is because I kind of know where the crowd of the internet is because I've been a Redditor for 13 years. PJ and I both have been. So no, I don't know. I think the internet is a fantastic place. We made this movie because the internet said yes and gave us 350 grand from strangers. I think the internet is a fantastic place for independent artists and is the way to completely circumvent the power structures that be. And like, if you can say, okay, well, I don't really need your money and I don't need to spend 5 years telling you that I'm going to make a great movie and then you guys taking all of the back end points, I can go to the internet and say, hey guys, I'm going to make you a great movie. And then it ends up on all of those platforms anyway. It's you become the competition to the big studios rather than the subordinates. Thank you to the internet. And then with the deep fake technology stuff, I just see that as an extension of like comics, of like cartoons and stuff. And like you can draw someone and make them, horrendously offended through a comic. And it's like, okay, we can do the same thing with deep fake. It's the same thing. It's fucking animation.
Yeah, I guess we're just thinking too much of Trey and Matt from South Park's deep fakes. But yeah, like,
yeah, exactly. Sassy funny. Justice. Exactly.
I mean, look, I can see how that could be scary. I mean, with the internet, you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, yeah, Jim and I owe so much to the internet. I love, I mean, beta in a lot of ways, as scary as it is kind of a love letter to the internet. And look, the data scraping stuff is interesting. It's scary, but like, it's just with new technologies come new fears, but it also comes with a lot of very positive things. And overall, yeah.
I feel like PJ and I are Johnny PayPal in the basement. We're just making movies instead of connecting people. Yeah.
So before I'm sort of running out of time, but my final question, just to end on, is really, if you guys said you're working on 100 things, still writing lots of stuff. Is there one that's kind of starting to take shape? Is there anything that's kind of set out from the rest of the pack and is on its way potentially to being made?
I don't know about getting made. I think we're waiting for this movie to come out before we start knocking on doors, seeing if we can get finance for this stuff. We wrote a script that took us about a year to do. That's a love letter to journalism. It's about a guy who runs a YouTube news show in his garage with his mom outside of Washington, D.C. And it's this kind of like lovely depiction. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. It's called David Tonight. And then PJ and I are working on this Victorian horror comedy buddy movie that's really good. And that's the thing that PJ and I are like, I think this could be a real fucking masterpiece. And so we're researching the Victorian era in America, and we've been working on it for the last year and a half or something. And it's finally getting to a point where it's like, we need to stop talking about it and actually sit down and write the thing. And then that would be a much more collaborative process. That would be something where we bring in other people to help us write and research, and then bully Netflix into giving us some money to make it, or, you know, Fox Searchlight or something like that.
We'll just go back on the internet. We'll give you money.
Yeah. Dude, no joke. We might be doing that soon. Yeah. I think that probably we'll be doing the Steven Soderbergh model of one for them and one for us. And there's no turning back. I mean, the fact that we made the most successful film WeFunder a crowd equity campaign in history. And so it's like, you know, now we're just going to keep making stuff and asking the internet for help. It's great.
Cool. I can't wait to see what you guys got coming up. It's like live action, kind of like you mentioned Trey Parker and Matt Stone a couple of times. You can feel that kind of tonality.
Thanks.
Same here. Anyway, thank you so much for your time today, guys, and best of luck with the release of the movie. And maybe I'll speak to you for the next one. Who knows?
Yeah, please do. Bug us anytime. Thank you so much, dude.
Bye-bye.
It's great talking to you. Take it easy.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey